It's only me, but the others will come, I promise. As Alicea said, we are going to talk about a situation that can happen to everybody of us. Just imagine waking up one morning and not being able to hold a glass, brush your tooth, button your shirt even. That's for more than 100 million people in the world. That's a daily normal situation. So today we want to talk about a technology designed to change exactly that, and that means nothing less than giving back the independence to a lot of people. We want to talk about also how a startup and a technology leader work together, and how this very good role model can be find many successes. And without more words, I want to give over the word to Alex, CTO, as Alicea said, from Würth Elektronik. Thank you.
Good morning. Let me give you some kind of why we do what we do. It's very important for us as a company, and for me personally. The background is I had my own startup. We had a great idea, a good device, a market in front of us, and at least we could do the prototyping. But when it came to go for the next round of presentation for a bigger group of challenge and device presentation, we were faced with a problem, not getting one single component, and that really made this device dying and not going to market. And that's where we, especially me, is now triggered. That has never left my brain, this really bad story feeling. And that's where and I say, my team says, hardware doesn't get this so much attention normally. It doesn't make headlines like AI, apps and fintech, but hardware, as the name describes, really hard. So you collect many devices, bring them together on a board, and you hope that they work properly, and then it comes to the problem or situation, it doesn't work properly. It's not doing what it does. It's not fitting for the regulatory body needs. Whom do I ask? And that's why we say, and I say, ask us, as my team, ask me. We will sit together with you. We go on the design. We will review the design in all terms of means, availability, sustainability, lifetime, design reviews in terms of battery life, in such case we see today. And that's where you say that enables and gives, especially for impactful designs, which reach the customers or should reach the customers, the speed needed to go onto the market. And so what we do is really in different terms of markets, like food tech, we do biotech, we do, of course, energy saving, and also he's shown like here, med tech. And that's what we showcase today. That's why I'm here.
Thank you so much, Alex. And let me call Ryan on stage, and he's the first to experience what Alex just described. He's coming with the device we're talking about. Don't be afraid. Ryan, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Ryan Alicea. I am the CEO and co-founder of Powered Orthotics, and I'm here today to present to you all the MotionMate. The MotionMate is our first product at Powered Orthotics, and it fulfills our mission to provide support and confidence to people who are living after a serious injury or accident, like a stroke or a spinal cord injury. So I hope I can properly introduce that to you today, and I'm looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then there's our third panelist, Lorenzo Macia. He is professor at he's now the executive director of the Munich Institute of Robotics and Machine Intelligence. Lorenzo, welcome on stage. And I think Lorenzo could, before we have a closer look on the specific device we're talking about, Lorenzo can give us a broader view on what is going on biorobotics, where research, the current state of research, and so on.
Thank you very much. So thanks very much for the invitation. As been introduced, I am the director of the Robotic Institute at the Technical University of Munich. We have 80 professors that spans in all the different directions of robotics, as well as medical robotics. We have seen that the wave of AI pushed the boundaries of automation, humanoid robotics. It's pushing the boundaries.
By Lawrence, we miss your microphone at the second, so
So I rewind.
absolutely. Yeah.
Right now? No.
Take it ahead. Yep.
Now you should hear.
Yeah, better.
Yeah, loud and clear. All right, so as a director of a robotic institute that spans in all the direction of robotics and automation, of course, I've been invested by the wave of AI, of our colleagues have been invested. And AI is pushing boundaries in several directions, as well as not only for automations, industrial automations and humanoids, as well as for clinical robotics, medical robotics, and wearable robotics. That is the things that we are going to talk today, and prosthetics, of course. So how a wearable robots works. People that usually have degenerative disease, accidents, so traumatic injuries, lose the capacity of moving. You can wear this device, and this device restore your capacity of motion. How this device works? Well, usually used for now, classic automation technology. They need to detect the motion of a person and then amplify using electrical motors. But if this person doesn't move, what happens? Then you have brain-machine interface. You know Neuralink from Elon Musk. You probably don't know, but here in Munich we are pretty strong because we have a transplant unit that is in the TUM Klinikum with Simon Jakob and Bernard Meyer that they implanted the first implant for restoring, for example, generation of speech. Now, what's the problem? Is data. We need a lot of data to understand how each of these devices works. You wear this device, but then you have to program them for each single person. And here, AI steps in. If we have a data set to collect all the possible data for people with amputation, people for loss of limb, capacity of motion, you create your foundation model. You provide this foundation model to the technology. You have a technology that becomes plug-in. And this is where AI steps in. We are going to talk about what is the future, what is the desire of all the roboticists, having really something that you build, you program with a large data set with a foundation model, you plug it into a person, and this person will be able to walk again, to run again, and to be reinserted into his social life or her social life. That's the main topic. Thanks.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Okay, thank you, Lorenzo, for this. And Susan, as you see, we have a very exciting topic and quite limited time and very interesting panelists. So I think we would start to dig deeper into what we are actually talking about when we look at UI right now. Perhaps you could explain a little bit how this thing that you called MotionMate works.
Yeah, of course. So the MotionMate is a soft hand orthosis. So it's kind of like a prosthetic, but for a limb that is still there. So the person will typically have some type of paresis or difficulty with their musculoskeletal system. And we provide support. So we replace the function of the muscles in the forearm to both open and close the hand to provide practical assistance throughout the day, particularly for bimanual tasks. So the largest user group of a product like this would be people living after a stroke. So it was really important that we build the product to work with only one hand. So from the ground up, from putting it on to using it to interacting with it, that was done in a way that somebody with only a single dexterous function in one hand could do on their own.
Perhaps going a step back, what was exactly the moment when you thought, we have to build a solution for this? Why specifically for this, and how did it start?
So when I started this work, I was actually doing my doctoral thesis with Professor Macia here in Heidelberg University. And you know, it didn't really click as something that should be pushed out into the world until we took it to the clinic for the first time. And it was really the response and the reaction from the people that we were testing it with that convinced me, because at that time, the prototype was far less developed than what we have now. In fact, looking back, maybe we shouldn't have even taken it into the clinic at that point. But the reaction and the response from such a 0 to 1 shift in the individual was what convinced me that you know, why are we waiting? Like, we don't need the technology to be perfect, fully advanced with complete state information. We can put something out right now to provide real value and real impact for somebody in their life. And that's what convinced me.
Perhaps a question that, Alex, you also could answer, any of you. What makes MotionMate exactly different, fundamentally different from other similar devices or previous hand ortheses? Because as we heard, the whole industry is working on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, what triggered us is really when we were looking at you guys, is really the more and easy and better availability and the lower cost, the overall cost for getting it. So you're 3 times lower in costing as normal devices, but in the same time you're still confronted, so to say, if you can call it like this, to have the medical approval in the same time. And that is really a challenging thing for a designer, first touching such kind of devices, because when you do normal electronics, it's very clearly regulated and CE marks, which you find everywhere. But if you go for medtech, and then you have to have special approvals and special things in mind, which is patient protection, so to say. And that's where we especially came into the game about there's a powering device inside, and every time when power comes into the game, you have to follow in the so-called, that you don't get a hazardous stroke when you put somewhere your finger or whatever. So that is where we jumped into the game with our expertise and knowledge, because when I'm a designer, I have to do everything and understand everything, electromechanics, switches here, whatever is around. And then on top, I have to solve an issue very fast and in a short time, very dedicated. That's why we say if we collaborate with our team and your team, then we can go even faster and optimize these designs. And keep in mind, it has to be available in a good costing structure over time and availability. And then, of course, it's battery powered, as a long lifetime of battery. Everything has to be discussed, and then we go for a design.
I will get back to the cost question, because I think that's also an important thing. But you just mentioned it like briefly. The MotionMate is kind of way lighter than other devices. And that seems to be an important point. Well, I mean, obviously it's an important point for everybody who has to carry it, but how did that work? So why could you be lighter than anybody else?
Yeah, it's a critical point. I mean, we have experimented with different designs and solutions that were smaller, more condensed, and had everything more close to the hand. But people with motor disabilities, typically, they have difficulty lifting their arm and controlling the bicep, and it was just too heavy to use for long periods of time. So we moved everything off of the hand, everything that was possible. So what we have left is a lot of textiles, some electronics, but just the bare minimum required for the assistive function. So the added weight to the hand is less than 160 grams, and everything else resides in the center of mass of the body, in the control system. So.
Okay. Perhaps, Lorenzo, both of these guys are very into this device, but perhaps you can tell us a little bit about what the problems are if you develop a device like that one, which I believe has its beginnings in your laboratories. Alex mentioned working together with designers and engineers. Are there frictions? What are the basic problems?
So the problems is dual, so hardware and software. The hardware, you need to
as
have...
Always.
Yeah, as always. But let's say that for this wearable device, the first generation was made by, let's say, mechanical systems. So we are talking about rigid hinges. You don't want to have something that is rigid. You don't want to wear a pair of shoes that are too stiff, as well as for exoskeleton. That's why there's been a transition towards from rigid technology to soft technology, and this is called exosuit, not anymore exoskeleton. I actually provided a nice slide. I hope that they will put it on so you understand. It was?
Yeah, it
all right. So they try to put it again, so you understand what kind of technology we're talking about. The second part, and let's say it's the most tricky, is the control part. You want a system that detects instantaneously the voluntary capacity of the residual motion of a person that is wearing this device. You can do it with classic control, but there's a limit. And the limit is that classic control actually works and needs to be tailored to any person that wears this device. If I wear the device, the control needs to be tailored on me. If someone else wear the device, another tailoring. So it's not a technology that can match all the users. What is the next steps? AI. AI is the next steps because if you have a lot of data and enough data to understand that if a person is wearing the device and attempts to move, that kind of motion can be recognized instantaneously, and you have, for example, in a foundation model, a lot of manifold of set of motion that has been recorded, the system will be plugged in. So the utilization of the system depends on the wearability and on the capacity of detect the intent of motion of the person. Now your question would be, but if the person doesn't move at all, what is happening? Well, then you have to detect the capacity of motion somewhere else, and where you want to detect, into the brain. Then you have brain-machine interface. Usually the invasive one is the one that works at best. But still yet, there you have to map specific impulse that comes from the neurons and translate this impulse in control of the motor. How do you do that? Well, you have to do for each single person. What about having a large data set that, let's say, exemplifies or generalizes this kind of motion? I mean, this is more, let's say, a very big overshoot. And then you plugged in the device, you attach the brain implant, and the device will be able to move. Then eventually you have to trim it a bit, what is called reinforcement learning, that usually is done manually, but is a bit trim. It's just you rotate a knob, oh, now it works much better. So this is, let's say, the big wave of AI, is the capacity of keeping this technology fruitful by a large number of users, the largest number of users.
You only have to be careful that's not that you think, me as a person, this data has to sit somewhere in the cloud. It's really edge AI.
Yeah, in fact, you
it's
know,
trained on the device.
Minister
It's
Gerfer
your data, your movement data, and the trend is going really edge AI. That's what we also support with our solutions here. That's what makes it so interesting. But in this case, we are just a step before that. But the next step is really on the long-term run or mid-term run to say there is this connection. And even I had a stroke when I was 36. I couldn't move my arm. And if I would have that device, I'm now 60, so a long time ago, with 36, so to say. If I would have that device, would have already helped me, as you showed it here, to do some things I could not do by myself. Because it's really frustrating if you cannot move your arm anymore, there's no more power in your arm. And that's what triggered us again, to say a nice device, a good starting point. And the thing is, why we saw sitting on this one is really its impact for the society. And what we've showcased here, and want to showcase and discuss here, is also we have good technologies sitting here in Europe, in Germany, Bavaria, but also in Germany, let's say it this way. And we have to help them to get seen, to get detected, to get the right support, and multidisciplinary. It's very many disciplines have to go together, and to really go faster to market. And not put the fears every time in front of everything. Yeah, now it's so, oh my goodness, and yeah. That's why I said the AI is on the device, my brain activities on the device, later on test, checked, and moved and powered. It's not in the cloud, it's my personal, and then of course, trainable device in the future, but now already so impactful because I can do what I need to do. We can put the thing here and there, and already, if not the AI is inside, do the things you need for opening and detecting, closing and holding. Also there's a good device where we say for startups it's very important to have a very good first device. And that's a German over-engineering not to put in at the first point. No, really do the 80%, do them good and do them right. Go for the market, explore the market, and then go the next steps, of course, in behind, but don't over-engineer. I'm a German engineer, I can say this, yeah, in the first approach. Don't do this. Describe your first product, stay on it, but don't forget, and that's why we put also Lorenzo here, yeah, is to say there's even more to come, even more functionality, even more comfortable thing is inside there, but we have to start right now and give, of course, you guys the right attendance that there is a good market in front of us. And even I was on the CS show last week, they talk all about that. And the aging society, how it goes, and I'm also now 60, so I have a good reason to see you going successful. That's where we really want to put efforts in and showcase how industry, we as an industry, they sometimes startups fear you cannot talk to us. In our case, I can say, yes, you can talk to us, because I had a very bad experience not getting the things running. And yeah, because I could not get the device, but sometimes hardware is, as the name describes, really hard to do. Yeah, so put these fears of whom do I ask, it's contact us. And then, of course, keep close collaboration with the universities to think how we go better in the next device, in the next step.
Alex, you were talking a lot about technology. Let's get, for a moment, once more, a little more concrete. Because behind this seemingly simple products, there's a lot of invisible technology, and that's exactly where you jumped in. So I wanted to ask you, what was actually the biggest technical challenge supporting this project? And I think it's all around, I mean, I have limited understanding of this very specific technological questions, but it's all about a component that you created for that, and that was kind of the kick-off.
Yeah, so it's the, when you do powering devices, you do it by battery in this case. There's the holy grail of it should be, the battery should run every time as long as possible. The other holy grail is it should not impact the patient under all circumstances. And now you have to do a special device inside, we call it transformer, where there are the body regulations say you have to build it like that, technology-wise, and that size and distance, and you cannot go smaller. And that immediately makes your so-called efficiency under question, brings efficiency under question. That's why we need very close discussion with the designers, what you really want to achieve, where's your sweet spot of device operation, to optimize everything for that sweet spot, and then guarantee under this sweet spot operations, the battery life is as long as possible, and not in opposition to the body regulations, which means, very strange word, one mop.
Yeah.
You will explain eventually. That's where we have this this working together and optimization together.
Great.
And that's it's a bit technical. Sorry for that, but that's where it gets interesting. And I can ask someone. I can go on this point. Eventually, we are not typing on another point. Yeah, but that's where we can be exactly strong in it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
That's exactly where the benefit was for us. I mean, in the beginning of the design phase, we set a goal to have the most power-dense orthosis on the market, right? The best power-to-weight ratio. We had a target of 3 kilograms of grasp force, and we wanted to hit it. And with the power that we had available, we couldn't hit that spec with market-available components. And this was a big roadblock for us for a number of months. And it just took us talking about the problem to the right people, and we eventually were put in contact with Würth, who, as you mentioned, Alexander, made a custom solution that completely solved that problem for us, allowed us to hit our spec and deliver a product that is safe to use according to the EU. So if anyone else has a problem like that, I would encourage you to just talk about it to the right people, and then you might get lucky and meet someone who knows Alexander, and then he can help you.
That was exactly the next question I would have asked you, but then let me jump to another one. Alex already mentioned it. This device is far more, it's a question of costs. And obviously it's better if it's not that expensive as devices like that one used to be, but why is it that important? Because there are a few specific reasons why it is that important.
Why the cost is so low?
Yeah.
So
and perhaps you can also like say numbers, because it's really impressive.
Yeah, so a key differentiating factor is that we didn't take the approach of making a custom-built solution, at least hardware-wise, for the individual. And that's something that's really common, and that requires a lot of work on the part of the reseller, a lot of effort on the part of the user or the purchaser. And it drives the costs up to 40, 50, 60,000 euros. So we're taking an approach of making something that is adjustable at the point of sale, almost like a shoe insole that it comes very large and you cut it to fit the size of your foot. And so our expected price range is between 10 and 15,000 euros, and that would be the reimbursement cost. So there's a bit of a competing incentive with the health insurance companies, of course, but that is still about a factor of 3 lower than the nearest competition.
Thank you. Lorenzo, I wanted to ask you, because you are working on things that actually in laboratories with a lot of devices like that. What is the biggest gap you've encountered between like the promising medical devices in the lab and a successful adoption in a clinical setting?
I have directly a response to the European community, the medical device regulation. So the medical device regulation is cutting our legs.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if we are going to compete, for example, with the Americans or the Chinese, and the Americans have Food and Drug Administration, they are by far much more ambitious. And we have to be ambitious, just to reconnect to Alex's discussion. We need to be ambitious, we need to soften a bit the medical device regulation. It's not only difficult, commercializing these things, it's difficult to test at the research level. I have to, let's say, write so much paperwork to send to the Ethics Commission that right now I'm going to cheat them with ChatGPT. So that's really, you know, the best solution. You want to read it, and then you have hundreds of pages to read. I can compose with ChatGPT an ethical approval, and then I'll make you struggle. At the end, they will approve my ethical approval because they will be exhausted. So this is the problem that we have. And I tell to the European community, open up a bit, or otherwise we're going to lose the technological sovereignty. And without technological sovereignty, we are slave. Full stop. This is what they have to keep in mind.
I think a lot of people of a lot of industries can relate. I'll ask you after Alexander. I have a question for Alexander first. Do you see, I think I know the answer, but anyway, do you see this project as a one-off or as a blueprint for future health tech innovations you would support?
Also of course, we will support this device up to where we can. It's our strength, and more devices will come in that way. And for me, a very triggering point was also to say we arrived here with this device, but we can go even further. Yeah, when we have this brain connection someday, and we have to research on this one. As Lorenzo described, you have to do it now and go even faster there, and find a way how to accelerate it then into the market.
And Ryan, I will ask you the typical 5 years question. What do you think? Where do you see MotionMate in 5 years' time?
Hopefully, we see MotionMate on the street as a regular occurrence. That's what I believe. I mean, the conditions that lead to the impairment that would require to use a product like this are much more common than people realize. I mean, you have a lifetime risk of stroke in the EU of 75%. So that's 3 out of 4 people. Strokes are happening younger, and people are living longer after these conditions. But the fact is, even with the highest quality of care, you still need daily support in at least 60% of the cases after 3 years of therapy. So the need is there. The problem is we just haven't built a solution that is accessible enough and able to be used by a wide enough group of people that's really caught on. And that's where I think MotionMate can step in. And not just to support the physical aspects of the disability, but the social aspects, the emotional aspects. I mean, we're talking about giving somebody their self-confidence back. And that has knock-on effects all across the healthcare spectrum. And so that's really where I see it developing. I mean, there's the rehabilitation focus as well, but right now we're focused mostly on providing real practical assistance for the people that need it the most.
Is there, I mean, we tackled this question already a little bit, but we all know that in Germany we do have a problem of bringing things from the lab into reality and making people believe in their own capabilities to create companies and startups. What would be an advice you would give young researchers or students as you were to jump into it?
It's a good question. I would say, I mean, it sounds cliche, but you just have to just start throwing some darts. Just start doing it. Because you won't know what you're doing at the beginning, especially if you're starting something completely new. And you know, we have plenty of Germans on our team. We have a very diverse team. And you know, I noticed that a lot of the time, you know, there's a tendency to try to completely map out the situation before you really dive into the problem. And you know, we'll come back after 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and we're still in the scoping phase. But we need to be much more agile than that. And you learn by doing, and the faster that you can do something and fail and try it again, the further along you'll be at the end of the day. So that would be the advice that I would give, is to just try it.
Any advice you would give, Alex? I saw you.
As Lorenzo mentioned, as we have to have really, we have the best researchers. We have an industry shaped by many things not running. The special industry is really going down. Here we have a new device and capabilities for a market to create, but we have to create it now and not in 5 years, not in 6 years, as Lorenzo also described. We have to do it now and to accelerate now the design speed, so to say, and make the markets before others take the markets. And that's why we are supporting this device as well, and this solution.
Lorenzo?
The advice, well, I usually give advice to the industry when they say, okay, you have to fund this kind of research. And I say, listen, guys, remember that we basically create the intelligentsia that will work in your industry. So on one side, the companies needs to fund research in the university. On the other side, the university needs to find a formula to stop being no profit when you collaborate with some external agency. You should try to be able to ignite also business model, a new completely business model. This is something that in the US works. It should work also in Europe. Full stop.
Okay. Thank you. I think we wrap up this panel with at least a little optimistic view into the future. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to the following panelists.